I do. Jesus Christ. So no, I don't, I just want it, you've been served, you know. Just offering you a possibility. I was appreciative when I heard it. Yeah. I thought other people would be much happier than they responded with, but I did. I thought it would be much more welcome. So then I said, it must be me if someone was nicer with more of a loving gaze and didn't curse and looked like they had been meditating for years and years. But no, I don't think so. I think the stubbornness of the act of being identified, because if it's like you hear the message, you're a lion, yeah? It may register for you, but you got to see that when that message is coming towards you, the mental state arises in its little sheep identification, and it hears the message and turns it into, I can become like a lion. That's not the message. Non-duality is not a path, it's a fact. Yes?
So if I feel into what I was when I was 5, and then what I was when I was 20, and then what I was when I was 30. And each time, it's the exact same thing. Like, I haven't changed. I was there then, I'm here now, and it's like the exact same feeling. So everything else is not me. Everything else is an imagination. All right? Okay. So if I sit into that and feel that, then I feel a sense of grounding in that. Nothing wrong with that. You don't see an error in that.
No.
Awesome.
Well, it's like being a screen, you know. The movie screen can, very rarely, they probably never change the screens at movie theaters, yeah? Though they've had like 8,000 movies, yeah? Because it just appears on the surface. The screen never takes in the melodrama or the war movie, yeah? It allows it to appear. And how many times have you been to a movie and people clap for the screen? No way, you know? They don't. I would say that's sort of what it's like. It's appearing on us, yeah, like a dream scape on what we are, let's say. And then there's a projection of that out here, and we appear as a dreamt, and we take it to be real, yeah? As the Course would say, it's projection first, then perception. We believe it's perception, but it isn't. It's projection, which is dreaming, and then perception. So the dreaming identifies as the dreamt, and now perceives what was projected. Forgets that it was the projecting, and gets affected by it as if it's the perceiving. It perceives it as real, and so thoughts are real, feelings are real, and their effects seem to be real, but the cause isn't it's a causeless effect. It's imaginary. You're dreaming. Yeah? You're actually the cause in a sense. It's good news, I feel. For me, I just seen the byproducts. I couldn't, I've entertained this for years, and I can say I've traveled. It just allows you to travel lighter as the action figure. It doesn't say it's going to change the geography of your destiny. You may have cancer, you may have wrecked marriages, whatever, but you'll travel lighter over whatever occurs. And after a long period of that, what more do you want? That's the conclusion I came up with. What really more do you want? I really believe if the mental state hears about enlightenment, it uses it to really screw with itself. I think most of us would have been much better off if we've never heard the word awakening. Really, I think it's really caused a lot of dis-ease, and it's one of the rampant viruses of spiritual seeking. And it's funny because enlightenment means cessation of all suffering, but the way we hear it, it's used to promote suffering. That to me is the absurdity of this whole event. Yeah. So, yeah.
And it's probably just a lexicon thing. When you say like the self and you're patting the body, you're not just talking about the physical body, like you're talking about all of the concepts and the identity and the, even for me, like there's a bit of a feeling of me-ness, that when I turn and say, what is that? From awareness, it doesn't hold any water. It doesn't seem like there's really nothing there. But you're talking about more than just the body, I think, when you say.
Yes, but without the body, it wouldn't have passed muster for a second. The body is the main anchor of the whole story. All the memories are of bodies. Mostly when you dream of bodies, in bodies, yeah? Most of the mental dreaming is bodies. The body is what gives rationality to all the irrationality of the story. It does, yeah? But see, then, if you go to a place to chant you're not a body for 3 days, what would be wanting to do that is a body. The only thing that wants to get out of a body is a body. So you're chanting I'm not a body 800 times and it's reinforcing the body. It's insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look at it, it is. I mean, it should be a warning on all spiritual books. This presupposing of a non-existent thing, wanting to get salvation for the non-existent thing, because wanting to get salvation from a non-existent thing is absurd, it's non-existing. Yes? The salvation is innately available because it's not existing, but for the non-existent thing. That's the beginning of the conception that brings sense to looking for yourself. When it seems absurd, if something happens to you, to be spending one more second looking for what can't be found. Yeah? But when that's in place, it makes sense to start looking for an idealized version of you. Or actually worse, pinning it on someone, and usually most of us pick a dead master because there'll be no confrontation. You can make Raman or whatever you want him to be. People have pictures of him, if you walked in, he wouldn't even know who they were. You know, it's easy. And a lot of people now, they just want to watch videos. Because live is the best message. Live is a lot, you can feel this power in this room, can't you? It's very strong presence here. Yeah.
So reality is what we're seeing, right? So it's just a question.
I would say reality is the seeing, not what we're seeing. Yeah.
All right.
I have a question. It seems to me as I'm listening to you speak that you've gone through a lot of seeking in your day. You talked about the Course in Miracles and the Masters and the trip on the Krishnamurti, the thing. And I guess there's a part of me that wonders if, although it's always there, the ability to actually kind of see what's actually happening happens after seeking for, do you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yes,
It's like the actual seeking creates the conditions that make people able to see the big picture. And so anyways, I guess that's just a question I have as I'm kind of listening and trying to absorb everything that.
Yeah. Well, let's just say, my feeling is, let's say the dreaming is dreaming, and it dreams that it forgets that it's the dreaming. So here in like a movie format, it may have to go through a lot of things to get back to remembering that it's always been that way at all times.
Yeah.
So in the movie, it has relevance, but then when it dawns on one, it has total irrelevance. So yes, it looked like you had to go through all this, and yet when it dawns, it seems like it tells you it's always been that way, so therefore it validates the story, but it's validated in the movie, yeah?
Yeah.
So I'd say both, yeah.
But we might get to bypass it.
We
might get to bypass it if we take your invitation.
Well, yeah, you can save time, save time.
Save all the seeking.
But then again, see, again, all the longing that seems so real and feeling like you've missed it. And some people really get into a conundrum with they were awake and now they're not awake. Somehow they did something to lose the awakeness. But that's painful. Eh? Yeah. But what was I saying? I forgot. I got caught in that one. Oh yeah, the idea, so all the longing and all the going through stuff, if you have a hit on it, it erases all the meaning of that also. Yes? You know what I mean? Because it's like all you wake up in a sense to is the here and now, and you see it's always been the here and now, even though time has passed and circumstances look different. Yes? All these appearances seem to have changed in the magical realm of time, but basically it's always been the here and now. Yeah? So it's sort of, so yeah, you're feeling like you took a trip, but when you get to the destination, it validates that there was any time or trip that passed by. So, yeah. So other people that are at the same travel agency, you want, all right, yeah, there's a trip, but when you get there, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I wasn't a good spiritual seeker. The only thing I could really be totally sure of was my devotion to drugs. I would match my devotion to shooting cocaine with all the great spiritual devotees of scriptures, of the monkey god, Hanuman. I was right up there with them. Mm-hmm. And I completely surrendered, gave everything to it, loved it unbelievably. So in that one area, I went as far as I could. I could find a lot of holes in my spiritual seeking. Yes, I could. My resume isn't that good compared to others. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but in drug devotion to that, no, I'm peerless. I'm up there with the top devotees. I am, seriously. I'm not proud of it, but I am. I totally saw it as a religion. And I had a real weird belief that if I could tighten my mind enough and snap it, things would be different. But I was, you know, you can't transcend an imaginary place. You can't get out of here. You can't, because there's no here to get out of. You can't get. If I could have, I would have with drugs. I couldn't say that with spiritual practice but drugs, yes, 100%. And that was the biggest disappointment. I can't escape from an imaginary place. So what's the appropriate response? I'm completely here now because I can't be anywhere else. Yeah, so I'm completely in every moment but I didn't do a heroic effort to get into the moment. I just realized absolutely I can't be out of a moment, completely. I've never been gypped ever since. I'm there with sleeping, I never gypped. Without any effort or thought. See, it's like a backdoor way, but it's actually the way. Yeah. And it's not focus and concentration, it's disperse. See, I see so much more when I'm not looking for anything than I do when I'm looking for something. Yeah? You don't need that be focused. Focus is sort of like, there's so much concentration on the image of you already. That magnifying glass has mutated us unbelievably. We've been construed as the center of the universe and the only thing worthy to be thought about. You've thought about you more than you ever did your kids or anything. Yeah? There's been so much magnification of the power of mind on this freaking mental image. You don't need any more focus. You need it dispersed. Yes? What you are is not a thing. You can't be located geographically. Like spaciousness, yes? Yeah, so that's the interest and attention gets freed from this dead preoccupation, yeah? And then it's not being sent on those fool's errands, and it rests in and of itself. So now that I would hope it would mean, like they say, abiding in that space, you know? Your interest and attention, you've got enough to navigate a day. You don't need 100% of it being focusing back on who navigated the day, because that's really what's going on, isn't it? The what you meet has very little meaning. It's what it reflects, which is you. It's just the big meaning grabber. So we're basically, the mental state is like living a mobile Narcissus in the pond with vertical ponds, people and everything. You're just getting a glimpse of yourself all day. And then the mind makes the leap in taking itself to be a body. It's suggested so much, the mind just pictures you as a body. That which is presenting the advertising can't produce self. We can imagine ourselves as a body. We're the power. Don't you feel, it feels like the thoughts are playing to an audience. It is. It's playing to us. It's trying to convince us. I used to see it with drug addiction. If you hadn't done a little drugs, this thing would work in an incredible way to lead you to a place, I won't want to use the word I used to use, but to a place of, let's say, screw it. And then you were apt to do almost anything at that point, yeah? Because it would have convinced you of false evidence, and then watch it. Watch what happens when you're feeling good. How long does it last before the suspicion arises that you don't deserve it, or when are they going to find out I'm a fraud or something like that? But the same head, if it has a feeling of dis-ease, it thinks it's the beginning of a lifelong depression. How could you live with that theme? It's shortening and contracting, let's say, the expansion, and then it's constantly putting more weight into the contraction. Why would you want to live under that interpretation if you had a possibility or an option? Yeah? See, that would drive the self to try to get out of self. You've now been shown, or you've probably heard many times anyway, the second lock of the system, which is when you're getting out, it's more in. Yeah? When the self tries to get out of the disease of the self, it's more in. That's why your head isn't flipping out signing up for the next retreat. It's not scared about that. No way. That's easy. It knows it can project itself for hundreds of years. When something starts questioning it, that's when it gets uncomfortable. And if you, like, well, who am I? It's like a knock on the door. If you knock on the door 1,000 times and no one answers, there's no one home. I mean, how many more knocks do you need to realize there's nobody home? You know? Yeah, I don't know. So yes, any more questions? Yeah.
Having a hard time getting the words for it, but there seems to be 7 billion delusional entities on this physical planet. I think my question is sort of along the line of why, like, that's a lot of delusion. So in a sense, I'm thinking, well, there has to be a point to that.
No. See, let's assume that there's 7 billion. I don't believe there's single entities. I think there's dreaming, really. I believe nothing ever really happened here.
So what's dreaming?
I would love to be able to say what it is. I think you can only be it. Yeah? It's like, does the brush really have any idea the intention of the artist, you know? I don't feel like we're privy to that, really. Yeah? I believe we're more of an effect. This is not the cause.
Oh, all right.
This is an effect of a lot of shifting things.
Okay.
Yeah? Like some people, a great guy in the beginning of recovery talked about surrender as an unconscious event. Yeah, it happens in the unconscious, or like we call it the innermost in recovery, and then it bubbles up into your little surface world. Yeah, and if it was sufficient enough, it will allow a state to occur here, which is surrendered. Yeah, and then the problem will not exist for you anymore, which is an incredibly beautiful solution concerning addiction. Yeah. For someone who's lived under the tyranny of self in its addictive mode, to have the problem not exist for you is a damn good demonstration. And like what we say in recovery, we say, you will suddenly realize that a power greater than you has done for you what you can't do for yourself. To me, I just expand on that idea of what I can't do for myself. You know? I think this stuff was, if you read the cryptic Zen stuff and Ramana, it's warnings. They're just warning us, mostly. They're telling us that there's a heist that's going on unbeknownst to the homeowner, so to speak. And when the burglar walks into the room to take your jewelry, you call it me. You're identified as the burglar. Yeah, that's why it has carte blanche through the house. It knows the security code, it knows everything. Yeah, and you're building all these defenses, but it's inside already, yes? They're just trying to warn us so that maybe, because the one quality that the burglar cannot steal is the seeing. It can obscure it, it can try to, you know, distract you, yes, and it does it quite well. It's a yeoman's job, but it can seemingly fool thee. But you can see the heist. Yeah, you can see it. If you see it sooner or later, when you see something that as not you, it hits that it's not you. You know, how could I be seeing it if I was it? Yes, you know what I mean? There's going to be a 51% of the stock is going to go on the winning side. And then you'll travel lighter. The shenanigans continue. The mental state is going to have a narrative, but it's really, in a way, it's so weird. It's like Johnny come lately. I mean, it's trying to rush, catch up to actually what's happening. You know, it's really, you catch it with its pants down completely a lot of the time. But it's funny, to me, it used to be like, it was serious, like CNN news flashes. Now it's like Comedy Central. I mean, I find it unbelievably, and if I, you know, it seems like I need a lot of amusement and it's never ending up there. It really is. It's hilarious. Yeah. It's just a humble invitation. I don't know, like I like to see this as a spiritual shoe store. We put out some shoes, some statements. If they fit, wear them. Yeah? See what downloads. You know what I mean? I have faith in it. I have faith in the message. I don't think you need a lot. I don't. I think all you need is a little nudge, not a giant bludgeoning. I really don't. I'm not a believer in, you know, I'm just not. I think there's a failed mechanism in that if the mental states movement is the claim, I thought that certain spiritual practices would have an immunity to that, but they don't. If your meditation is happening, the mental heist is claiming using the meditation to imply the meditator. It's just building another, you know, it has a huge wardrobe for the reflection in the pond. It can wear robes and loving gazes just as well as tats and leather jackets. Okay? I believed it should be different, but I found it not to be so. The mental state will claim whatever you're doing or in contact with and imply it to assume it was you that was in contact, with the hopes that you'll be there to experience your own absence, you'll be there to get it, and that's why there's 800 meetings, because the stubbornness of that is unbelievable. People are willing to listen to 800 invitations and be there to get it. And that's why they have to listen to 800 invitations, because they want to get it. And that's one of the main deterrents. If you see it, I have a hope, you know, and I truly believe that if you could hear the invitation, it could correct the seeming miscorrection. I really do. I believe that's why I do it, really. Because I'm not enthused about the message at all as the body. I mean, I've been dragged to hundreds of these talks. The body is fucking bored. It doesn't get anything out of it at all. It doesn't. It just sits here waiting for, can I have a latte afterwards? Or something like that. But then what comes out is very enthused and has never not been enthused. And I'm really, from this 2 levels below a coconut observation point, I'm just amazed that it hasn't lost interest. really, because it's been 20-something years of, and not having a great receptive audience most of the time, like with recovery, they always usually sitting like this. It's unbelievable. It's incredible. So I'm okay, you know. Yeah, whatever. So, hey, any more questions?
There was a guy in the back there.
Yes?
Oh, I was wondering if the Buddha met a female Buddha and had a child, could that child be raised to be fully realized from birth? Because it seems to me, I know that's a very strange question.
Yes. Do you?
It
Do you? You know that it's a very strange question.
I do think it's a very strange question. Yeah, because it seems to me that there is a point at which this infant that is living entirely in the moment, just there's some moment where a structure starts to be built.
Yeah.
That we call the mind-identified state, or whatever term you like. There's a point at which that begins. Could two realized parents, that's why the Buddha analogy, raise a child in such a way that they would actually be able to remain in that primordial state?
Well, they are remaining in that primordial state. It may just not look like it on the surface. I feel here is almost like a ride. You bought the ticket. Maybe it's a 90-year ticket. Yeah. So all the screaming and stuff like that, you bought into it. Why? I don't